Welcome to our very first live She Did It interview.
We are so thrilled to be here in Harvard Square with Alice Hoffman, the author of The Marriage of Opposites.
Your book, The Marriage of Opposites, has been hugely recommended by book clubs. My book club, which has 12 people, we read it about 4 months ago. Everybody adored it, and they all recommended it to all of their friends. Why do you think that this book has taken off amongst book clubs?
You know, it's funny that you say that because it really has taken off, and it kind of took me by surprise that of all my books, this book has really been very meaningful, especially to book clubs. I think there's a lot to talk about, and especially in terms of mothers and daughters, mothers and sons. I think it's very easy to relate to in a personal way. It was for me. That's why I loved her story so much. I mean, she was written up. The little that I could find about Rachel Pizarro was extremely negative. A horrible mother. I saw her as a fantastic mother. So it was really interesting to kind of think about what makes a good mother. And that's what kind of drew me to her. And I think the same thing is true of book clubs.
So true. Following up on that, the character of Rachel, and we all love her. We'd like to be her friend. She is rebellious, she's principled, she's passionate. How did you develop her character, and is there any bit of you in her?
Well, I wish that I were like her. I mean, I look at her in awe. I think what her character really developed from the historical research that I did, that, you know, to find out that she had created, or she had been part of the biggest scandal that had ever hit St. Thomas. I was interested in her from the beginning. I thought, what kind of woman has the strength to just go against everyone and do what she wanted to do for love? And I thought it was incredibly brave, especially at the time. And it would be brave now. It was even braver then. And the fact that she sent her 3 boys that she had with her second husband to a school, not to the Jewish school, but to a school that was for children of slaves and for children of African people. They were the only Europeans in the school, and I just thought, that is such a courageous thing to do at this time in the world. And I think her character was defined for me in the novel by the things that she did in the real world.
And is there any you in her?
No, as I said, I just wish that I were more like her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those attributes that you wish you had.
When Camille Pizarro, so interesting to get to Camille halfway through the book. I was thinking, when is Camille coming? When are we going to meet Camille? And then when we finally met him, he was the most interesting person. I mean, so different than all her other children, different than the environment that she lived in. And the question really is, what was it about Pizarro? Was it his personality? Was it his artistry? What was it that motivated you to write about Camille Pizarro?
Well, originally that's who I wanted to write about, but I got more and more interested in his mother and found her the more interesting character. You know, what kind of woman has a son who becomes this incredible artist? I mean, I didn't know that he was Jewish. I didn't know that he grew up in St. Thomas. I just thought of him as the father of Impressionism, a French Parisian artist. And so I thought, you know, and especially when I went to St. Thomas after I wrote the book, I thought, to go from this place to Paris, to become such a famous artist, you know, who was he? What kind of person is able to do that? What was interesting for me is I had to try to think like a painter. And since I'm not, it was a real challenge, you know, to think about how painters view the world. It's got to be different than we view the world. You know, they must take it apart in a different way, see color in a different way. And I tried to get to, you know, who that person was. But ultimately, I felt like he was who he was because he had a certain mother.
And have you gone to see his art since you've written the book? Have you gone back to visit it again? Has it changed the way you look at his art?
No, I mean, I always kind of looked at his art the same, but when I went to St. Thomas, which I didn't do until after I'd written the book, it gave me more understanding of Rachel and of Camille, of the idea. It was such a tiny place. And when I went to the synagogue that they had worshipped in, it's tiny. And I just thought, this community, you know, must have been stifling if you were different. And how she must have wanted to get off that island so desperately, which she finally did at the age of 60.
Right.
Right. the title, Marriage of Opposites, were there characters, specific characters that you were referring to in the title, or was that up for the reader to decide?
Well, I always think it's better if the reader decides, but for me, it comes from a term used in alchemy, that is the way that the marriage of opposites is fire and water, and that's how you get to the purest substance, the most magical, purest substance is the marriage of opposites. But it seems so true of so many different things, of the characters in the book who are married, of the characters in the book who come from such different places and become friends, and also of St. Thomas, which is the place where there were people from all over the world kind of gathering. I mean, really a melting pot.
Great. Well, I'd like to ask you a question on behalf of our BA50 readers who are figuring out their next steps.
Mm-hmm.
We love to talk about this whole interview as being a she did it, and you are definitely a woman who has done it.
Thank you.
When people think of writing their first novel, which for you was at what age? A long time ago, right?
21?
I was pretty young, yeah.
Yeah. Well, would people, do they ever ask you, like, how do I get started with my first novel? I mean, I want to write. I'm turning 50. I feel like I want to do something different. I've had a book inside me. I want to write. What advice would you give to them?
Well, I know a lot of people who, after their kids have grown up and after they've done what they're supposed to do, then they do what they want to do. And I think it's a great opportunity, a great time to try something. For me, my advice is to join a workshop. Whether it's through a university or in Boston, we have a great place called Grub Street where you can take classes and be with other writers. I think it's a great way to get started, is to not be alone with kind of like the blank screen of the computer, but to be in conversation with other people who want to do what you want to do.
Thank you. You have been public with your breast cancer, that you had breast cancer since you wrote about it in the New York Times. Has that changed your outlook, your writing? How has it changed?
It's changed everything in my life, really. I think it was true before, but much truer for me now. That's what I write about. I write about love, loss, and survivorship. I'm interested in survivors. For me, for instance, Rachel Pizarro is like an ultimate survivor. And I'm always in awe of women who are able to do it. I don't understand. I feel like for me, it's a lesson, and that I'm always learning ways to survive, because for me, it's very difficult, as it is for many people. And so I'm always looking for kind of mentors and heroes of women who have made it through. It also changed the way I relate to my readers, because I was very private. I never even told people that I was a writer. I didn't go on tour. I didn't really relate to the outside world. And I've met so many incredible women through my writing who are survivors. Breast cancer survivors, but also survivors in lots of different ways. And I don't know, I feel like much more of a sense of community with my readers.
And can you tell us a little bit about the breast cancer event that you have coming up, the Pink Pages?
Pink Pages, yes, it's on May 16th at the ART Theater in Cambridge. And we've been doing it for about 17 years. We've raised over $2 million to create an incredible breast center at Mount Auburn Hospital. And this year we have, I think, the best lineup ever. We've had every wonderful writer, but this year we have Elizabeth Strout, Lisa Genova, Anita Diamond, Ann Leary, Jodi Picoult, Lily King. And I think it's just going to be an incredible evening. It's also, it's really, it's filled with survivors. It's filled with this sense of that things are possible. And that's what I like about this event. It's really filled with hope.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We can't wait to go to the event.
Thank
Both
you.
Lisa and I are going to be there.
We will be there. Thank you, Alice.
See you there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Felice.
And I'm Rana, and we're the publishers of BetterAfter50.com.
BA50 is about real women telling real stories at this exciting time of life. Since 2011, we've been publishing stories from hundreds of authors on our online magazine. Today, we're happy to present a real She Did It woman to you, live.
We welcome you to our BA50 community. Connect with us for more interesting stories, laughs, and inspiration by subscribing to BetterAfter50.com and following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.